having students create podcasts or infographics or videos. Those can all be made in service of a standard, in service of the content. We're not just going to say, just go have fun and make a video.
Right.
But your video is going to tell us what you've learned. And it's also going to tell us your thoughts on what you've learned, which is far more than bubbling in some things on assessment.
Hello there. My name is Monica Burns, and welcome to today's episode of the Easy EdTech podcast. It is 2024, and whether you're joining for the first time, 100th time, or for the 200th time, I am so glad you're here. I have lots of exciting things in store for you this year. Each episode of the Easy EdTech podcast is designed to give you ideas you can try yourself, share with a colleague, or bookmark for later in the school year. Get ready for stories from my time in the classroom, the work I do now with schools and districts, and my travels to different EdTech events, as well as practical ideas and inspiring stories from new guests each month. If we mention something you'd like to check out, you'll find the link to it in the show notes. So don't forget to head to my website, classtechtips.com/podcast, for all of the show notes and resources from today's episode. This episode is sponsored by my new free ebook, 10 Ways School Leaders Can Use AI Tomorrow. It's completely free, and you can find it by going to classtechtips.com/AI leader. Looking to bring a touch of AI magic into your school? This free ebook unpacks 10 ideas you can start using today, tomorrow, or at any point this school year. It includes quick ways to integrate AI into your daily routines, offering a handful of my favorite tips and tricks. You can try them out yourself, then pass along the ones you like the most to your teachers and colleagues. They'll certainly thank you for it. So head to classtechtips.com/AI leader. That's one word, no spaces. My website is classtechtips.com, then /AI leader. This week's episode is titled Bringing Creativity to Every Classroom with Katie Fielding, and it was so much fun chatting with her about all things creativity and accessibility. You'll hear plenty of strategies for supporting creative endeavors, along with a few favorite open-ended creation tools to help put these ideas into action. Let's jump into the conversation. Welcome to the podcast, Katie. I am so excited to chat with you today. And before we jump into all things creativity, what is your role in education? Can you tell listeners a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like?
Yeah. So in my day job, I am my district STEM specialist. So that means that I'm developing a district STEM center. I'm supporting our elementary STEAM teachers, and I'm supporting our science competitive events that happen throughout the county for all grade levels. And then on my side gig side, my consulting side, I provide a lot of training and present about bringing accessibility and creativity to the classroom. And I partner with tools like Adobe and Book Creator, because those are two tools I love, and sharing the ways that teachers can use creative strategies with those tools in their classroom to hopefully boost engagement and mastery for students.
Awesome. Those are all things that I'm excited to chat with you about today. We both have a passion for creativity in the classroom and open-ended creation tools. And, the term creativity is a big one, and it can be scary for some people when they hear it, especially if they're being asked to participate in a creative endeavor or lead one for students. So can you tell us what creativity means to you?
Yeah, I can first start by saying what it's not, and that's like just being artistic. And I think a lot of people think about that when they think creativity, oh, I'm not artistic, so I'm not creative. But really being creative is like just having the imagination to solve problems, and also like the ability or the imagination of communicating new ideas, or even just like remixing old ideas into a new way. So I think, creativity is just like an innately human endeavor. It's inside of all of us. We all have like a desire to either share ideas or solve problems, or just like be mentally stimulated in fun ways. And creativity is just like fun mental stimulation.
Yeah, I love that framing, because I think it makes it so much more digestible for someone who might feel like it's not for them, or it's different, than what they do, when they're probably solving lots of problems creatively over the course of the school day. And
Oh,
so,
yeah. Everyone's solving tons of problems all the time, whether they know it and making small decisions in their life, which are ultimately creative problem solving in some way.
oh, yeah, absolutely. And so, as we think about a classroom environment, you mentioned some favorite tools and wondering about the strategies, right? What are some of your favorite strategies for fostering a creative environment in a classroom setting?
Yeah, making that environment for students to be creative is so important.
Mhm.
And I think one of the most important things is that they feel safe to explore and to imagine and take risks in your class and to ultimately make some mistakes. And I think as educators, one of the main things that we can do to support them in doing it is modeling it ourselves.
Yeah.
Being like, I came up with this lesson. It did not work, guys, like I thought it was going to. So we're going to redo or retry it. And I'm going to try this. And just showing that you are a creative thinker and giving them the autonomy to also make some mistakes is really important. And that goes with autonomy, just giving them space to share what they know and the ways they know it is really important rather than being so rigid on what we're expecting to get from our kids.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, keep going. No, I want to hear it.
okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then lastly, for that environment piece is just really forming structures for collaboration and community in your class. And I think if you do those three things, like the risk taking, collaboration and community, and autonomy, then you really have set yourself up well when you provide your students those opportunities to be creative. Because now they're going to feel like they can give feedback to one another, they can take those risks,
Mhm.
and they feel a more self-esteem about themselves and what they're doing.
Yeah, and just that, as you were thinking there, or you're sharing, I was thinking about the modeling, making mistakes, right? It's so easy. We're all so trained to feel like, oh, we don't want anyone to see that, or I hope nobody noticed that. But what does it look like in a classroom environment to lean into that? And so that's such a great reminder that having a level of transparency, acknowledging, right, showing that growth is such a nice way to make it a safer space for kids who are probably trying something out of their comfort zone, just like someone listening might be teaching a lesson that's out of their comfort zone or demoing in a coaching role for someone, something that's out of, their comfort zone too. And, you mentioned, Katie, about collaboration and would love to unpack that a little bit more. So what role do you think collaboration plays in creative learning? And how do you facilitate collaborative activities?
Yeah, I think a collaboration plays an essential role in creative opportunities in your classroom. And so one of the first things I like to do is really do some good student grouping. You don't always just want to pick a partner.
Right. Yeah.
People do not always pick their best partner. We just know that to be true. Something that I love to do, especially when I'm working with a student group that maybe I haven't built a relationship with before, is I love the Adobe Creative Types quiz. Have you seen that?
I have not played around with that yet.
Okay. So I love it. You could take the quiz. You have your students take the quiz as an engagement activity at the start of the lesson, and they get told their creative type. Now, in the little description that comes with that creative type, what I love is that their ideal partner type is listed. And so those, the innovator and the artist, but in any case, they pair the different creative types, the 6 creative types with each other. And so it's a great way to do some student grouping, even just grouping all 6 types together if you wanted a bigger group, or doing those ideal pairs is great. But that's a really fun way to just start some student grouping. Another thing that I think is a really important part of the collaboration phase is giving students a common problem to solve. So if you have that united kind of idea on, hey, we're going to work together on this problem, it provides a nice structure for building that community and collaboration. So recently I made some engineering and design thinking notebooks with Book Creator. And so if you're looking kind of for a place to start in doing some problem solving in your class, those might be a good structure for you to start with.
I love those resource recommendations, and we'll link out to that for anyone who wants to explore. Just the idea of facilitating something new, can be intimidating. So having that quick quiz, just to give yourself some language, to give students some language and understanding of the why we're working together, in this way it could be such a game changer, because I'm sure you hear, and I know I do in conversations, really valid, hesitations or just concerns about trying out new things. And, one big thing I hear a lot about is just time management. And we've all been there, right? From a classroom setting, it's like, when is this going to happen? Right? How am I going to fit this in? I've got a long to-do list. So, one, as I mentioned, right, that's one big hesitation is time management, or even, the idea that you need to balance curriculum standards and assessments with opportunities for creative expression. Do you see these as separate things, or are there overlap in the goals between, the curriculum standards, assessment, and creative expression?
Yeah, we definitely are this one kind of field where we are so time bound. It's like we have 180 days of school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Teachers definitely do feel that pressure.
Yeah.
But the curriculum, like standards and the opportunities for creative expression are completely overlapping goals, in my opinion. Because the goal of education in general, yes, we have these standards, we have the content we know we want students to know, but ultimately we really want to prepare students for the real world. And so many roles today involve content creation, critical thinking, problem solving, and all of those things are creative endeavors. So we have to be giving our students opportunities for that to prepare them for the world that they're going to be facing when they get out into the real world, as we always say. So yeah, it's so easy to integrate creative projects to support the learning standards. Having students create podcasts or infographics or videos, those can all be made in service of a standard, in service of the content. We're not just going to say, just go have fun and make a video.
Right.
But your video is going to tell us what you've learned. And it's also going to tell us your thoughts on what you've learned, which is far more than bubbling in some things on an assessment can do. So it really takes assessment to another level, and they're applying their knowledge in creative ways and not just filling in bubbles.
Yeah. And just the depth of getting a picture from students of how well they understand something, what misconceptions they might have, the confusion that might not come across just by simply bubbling in an incorrect answer. There's so much there that you can bring back to a conversation with colleagues if they're, a little hesitant or not quite sure how something's going to work, or really feeling a lot of pressure to get through all the other things in the day. And, it may not be just an educator who's feeling like, I'm not the most creative person, or that the creativity word, spooks them a little bit. How do you support students who might not initially see themselves as creative?
Yeah, I think it can really be our role as educators to help them identify their own strengths. I think often students don't see their own strengths. And so we can help them identify what they're good at and show them how they can apply those strengths to make creative content or problem solve creatively. And then secondly, I think it's really important for us as educators to provide a lot of options. That's why I love choice boards, creativity choice boards, and really just letting students see a variety of options, that they don't have to just do this or have to do X, Y, or Z. But, oh, wow, I'm feeling today like I want to make an infographic, or today I'm feeling like I want to make a book. And so just having options for students, I think, really allows them to be imaginative and almost make it play-like in classrooms.
And just that framing, I think, can help a student who might say like, oh, is this for me? Or this isn't what I love to do, or I don't have experience with this. So I like that as, part of that commitment to make a safe, inviting, welcoming space, for student creators. So you mentioned a couple favorite tools and resources. What are some of them, and maybe, adding to that list, or kind of the why behind the tools you've already mentioned? What would you recommend to other educators who are ready, right? Who are ready to explore this and thinking about ways to boost creativity in their classrooms?
Well, I think an important thing for all teachers is that it's really easy to get into the tools. So I love tools like Adobe Express that are web-based. Nothing has to be downloaded. Log in, usually with your single sign-on or Clever. You're instantly in and you can instantly get creating. Things that I love in Adobe Express are some of the quick things that are like the animate with audio, where students can just take their voice and turn it into an animated cartoon. That seems like a really quick way to have students do reflection or any other kind of formative assessment with a creative tool without having to take a long time to do it. Yeah. I also am in love with Book Creator as I'm a huge accessibility advocate. It is the most accessible of the creative tools. Just having the options for our students to create with text or audio or in their home language is so empowering for students. I've seen students who didn't think that they were going to be able to create in a level 1 English language learners class, see their language and their eyes light up. And now they're going to be able to do something that 2 minutes before they didn't think they were going to even try the assignment. So we know that some of these tools, they're great and they're fun, but they can also really reduce the barriers for our students. And ultimately, I think one of the biggest issues right now in class is engagement. And any opportunities that we can use to boost engagement are just something we have to try.
Yeah. And just, as you're sharing there too, just the options, the giving kids more ways to share their learning is such a massive part of making that commitment to them. And I appreciate just your reminder that when looking for tools, you want something that's going to be easy, right? Like you want something that kids can get in, that's not part of the struggle or doesn't make things harder, that they're just able to jump right in. So, I can't help but ask you a bit more about the accessibility connection here, since I know that's such a big part of your work. For a teacher who's thinking generally, right, about EdTech integration, who's thinking more specifically around creativity in the classroom, is there anything they should keep in mind when vetting tools or vetting projects if they have accessibility, on the mind?
Yeah, I think you really need to know your students in your class and what kind of assistive technologies they may be needing. So if we're thinking about our students that may be visually impaired, is that tool usable with a screen reader? So like Book Creator, totally, if the student is using a screen reader, they can still create and navigate in Book Creator. Not all other creative tools is it that easy for them. So I think definitely knowing your students and the things that they're going to need is going to be an important part of your vetting process. And then also, are there options for how the student can put in language, especially because so many of us have English language learners, multilingual students now. We want to make sure that it's accessible to them as well. And so options for language, I'm a big advocate for universal design for learning, and that whole middle purple section representation is all about the different language options. And so we just want to make sure that any tool that we're picking has options in some respect for language choice, and also visual inputs, audio inputs. We want lots of choices for those things.
That's a good reminder.
Is great.
Yeah, no, right. And such a good reminder for someone who's making choices or deciding like what to use for what type of activity. And it may be something that's evolving for them, right? As their students change, year to year or semester to semester too. So, Katie, this is so useful for someone who's looking to, commit to more creativity in their classroom for the upcoming school year. It might play around with some things this summer. So where can people connect with you? I know you have oodles of resources. Where can they learn more about your work?
Yeah, I'd love to connect with you on X. I'm at KDF. We'll have it linked. And then I also have a Substack newsletter where I send out ideas for STEM classrooms and just general EdTech tips. So you can feel free to subscribe.
Awesome. And we'll link out to all those resources so everyone is able to stay connected with you. Thank you so much for your time and your insights today.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
It was lots of fun chatting with Katie today, so let's make this EdTech easy with a few key points from today's conversation. Embrace the ways you are creative every day. Model making mistakes for students. Introduce tools that give kids options for capturing their learning. Consider the accessibility features that your students need. Remember, you can find the show notes and the full list of resources from today's episode, including all of the ways to connect with Katie, by heading to classtechtips.com/podcast and finding today's episode number 272. This episode is sponsored by my new free ebook, 10 Ways School Leaders Can Use AI Tomorrow. It's completely free, and you can find it by going to classtechtips.com/AI leader. Looking to bring a touch of AI magic into your school? This free ebook unpacks 10 ideas you can start using today, tomorrow, or at any point this school year. It includes quick ways to integrate AI into your daily routines, offering a handful of my favorite tips and tricks. You can try them out yourself, then pass along the ones you like the most to your teachers and colleagues. They'll certainly thank you for it. So head to classtechtips.com/AI leader. That's one word, no spaces. My website is classtechtips.com, then /AI leader. This March, we'll celebrate 5 years of the Easy EdTech podcast. To help celebrate, I'm hoping you can do us a favor. Leave a rating or review for the podcast wherever you're listening today. Spotify will let you tap on the stars, and Apple Podcasts will let you tap on the stars too and leave a 1 or 2 sentence review. A big thank you in advance for helping us get ready to celebrate this March.